Hey guys, welcome back to Vinsor Custom. So today we're going to do a review on this Createx Colors Restore. It's an airbrush spray gun cleaner. Somebody told me in my video that I did a little while ago about this Winsor Newton brush cleaner. This stuff is discontinued. Winsor Newton, supposedly in that video I explained that they can't get the third-party chemicals anymore to be made with this stuff. So I've been trying to find other stuff. So somebody texted me on Instagram and they said this stuff is pretty much the same stuff, or is at least closer. So I picked up some bottles and we're going to kind of test it right now. I don't really need to like salvage my paintbrushes because usually I get my paintbrushes like, you know, fairly cheap and stuff, and the way I work is usually once the paintbrush kind of goes to hell, it's really no sense of saving it other than maybe if I'm going to do like dry brushing in really city areas. But whenever I'm doing like new projects and stuff, I really like nice fresh paintbrushes. But we're going to experiment with these two brushes right now to see if this stuff salvages it. The more or less the reason why I really wanted something to clean is to clean my airbrushes, because let's face it, sometimes I make mistakes where I leave paint in there and I'm working and I completely forget and the paint starts getting clogged up. There's times when I have worked all day long on something and I completely forgot I left a little bit of paint in there, and I wake up the next morning, it's all dried up. This Winsor Newton stuff was almost like an acetone. You could put this stuff in there and clean it up and it would bring it back to life. Of course, you had to be careful, a little rubber and Teflon stuff in there. It could eat it away in a sense, but if you're careful, it would be fine. I never had issues. But I needed to find something that at least I could get my airbrushes clean. I'm not worried about the paintbrushes, but you know, if I really wanted to salvage my paintbrushes, I could get a little bit of acetone and I could do it that way. But the only problem with this Winsor Newton stuff, and even with acetone, is that even if you put the paintbrush in there, the fumes would get up into like your pieces here, and it would start melting the paint on the handles, which isn't really a big deal because after it dries, it goes away. But I don't really want to put harsh acetone into the airbrushes, but I'm trying to find a thing. So I popped this open. As far as the smell goes, it sort of smells like this brush cleaner, and it does have a little bit of an acetone smell. So usually what I do is I kind of put some in a little bit of a bottle like this, and basically it's just we're going to kind of experiment. So right now, this paintbrush, I was on live stream about a week ago, and I was painting some stuff, so I decided to let this kind of dry up with some paint. So we're going to kind of put this in here and see how that works. While that's sort of kind of sitting there, because usually what I would do is I would put this brush cleaner in a thing, and I would kind of put my paintbrush in there, and it would kind of start breaking it up. So we're going to kind of see how this works. But while that's kind of sitting, I'm going to go get a Q-tip, and we're going to kind of put a Q-tip in here. This isn't really that dirty, but this is one of my older airbrushes. I want to see if I could put a Q-tip in there and start kind of cleaning it up. So let me go grab one. I should have had this ready, but we'll see. So whenever I would clean my airbrush, you know, whenever I did my airbrush cleanings and stuff, you know, I would take some of this cleaner and I would kind of go in here like this. And that brush restorer would kind of clean up. Okay, so far, it's actually cleaning it pretty well. Actually, I mean, not perfectly, but it's sort of getting in here better than the other stuff I was experimenting with. Okay, yeah, alright, so that is a good sign that it's getting cleaned up, because this was more of an enamel lacquer brush. This is one of my older ones. So far that is a good sign. Let's grab a paper towel or two. So I have some of this paint dried up over on the side of this, so we're going to kind of experiment here, grab some of this, kind of see how... Because I used to be able to take this Winsor Newton stuff and it would take all this off. Oh, okay. So yeah, okay. All right. I'm actually excited now because this is seeming like this will do the same thing, just not as potent, but it seems to be working. So I got a lot of that paintbrush stuff off of there. All right. Ooh, I gotta be careful. I don't want to bend the needle, even though it's the older airbrush. So sometimes what I would do too is when I'm cleaning, I would take my piece and I would go like this. Yeah, this is cleaning this up. This Createx stuff seems to be my replacement now. That's awesome. All right, I'm I'm very thankful that, you know, the community and people reply to me and stuff. So this is kind of soaking in pretty well. So we're going to kind of experiment with that. So, alright, so I'm going to take this paintbrush too, and we're going to put that in here as well. So what I did do is I went on YouTube too, and I went and saw somebody, they use this Createx cleaner, and I guess what they do is they take their airbrushes and they soak it in the cleaner for a while, and then they kind of, well, I didn't watch the whole video, I only got kind of a glimpse, but it looks like it's pretty good. Now the only downside though, I'll have to say right now, is when I bought this 36 ounce Winsor Newton, it was about the same price as this 16 ounce. So, but then again, I bought this, like, I think I had this now for 4 or 5 years, something like that. And I really didn't use it a lot, but it looks like this Createx stuff is the go-to for me now. So since this is looking good for what I am looking for it to do, I bought a 2-pack of this on, I think it was on eBay, because I think that was the cheapest stuff. So what I might do is I might go on eBay and pick up another 4 bottles, just to have them, because I'd rather have a little bit extra and just kind of store them on the shelf for when I need them. The only downside is the bottle, I think, is pretty shitty. This bottle seemed to be okay, a little bit more, not really durable, but these kind of like sink in. But as long as I have something that works, so... But as far as the inside here, it cleaned this up fairly well. And like I said, this is enamels too, so if it's going to clean the enamels like this, it's going to definitely work on the acrylics. So, and as far as getting on the fingers, it's got a pretty much almost a Winsor Newton type smell. It almost has sort of the same thing. I know some people are like, oh, you should be getting that on your fingers, blah, blah, blah. I just don't care, whatever. So this has been soaking in pretty well. It looks like it's breaking up, so we're going to kind of experiment here. So we'll grab our paper towel. Oh yeah, it's breaking up good. Alright, it's not as fast, but then again, I caked this up pretty well. But it looks like if you keep your brush in there, you can salvage your brushes and bring them back to life. Okay, yeah, see, it's starting to break it up a little bit. I don't know how well you guys can see, but it's starting to break it up more. It's getting that paint off and everything. Alright guys, we got a replacement. I thank that person very much on Instagram that texted me this stuff. I was looking like crazy. The other stuff that I found that I put in my Winsor Newton video is this stuff right here. This stuff here, I picked up this U.S. Art Supply. This brush stuff cleaner restore doesn't do a damn thing. This stuff is kind of good for if you're painting, you know, with your airbrush, right? And then after you kind of clean it with some of the water or like a little bit of the glass cleaner formula that I use that I've gotten from the other site, and you have a little bit of paint in there, you can kind of run this through and kind of really clean it up, which is good. But for your caked on paintbrushes and stuff, this stuff is not that good. So if you're looking for just sort of like a soapy kind of cleaner, you can get this stuff, but it's kind of a waste of money. So I really wouldn't suggest this stuff unless you're the type of person where you want to buy cleaners and not make your own, which is fine. But for this type of stuff, this is working out pretty well. Oh, let me tie my shoe because I'm going to trip and fall. But yeah, just letting this stuff kind of, yeah, this is bringing back the paintbrush. I mean, it's like I said, I caked this in pretty well, but if you kind of force it a little bit too, like this, you know, you could kind of really break up that paint. Now, let's see. Yeah, it's bringing back it brought back the paintbrush, you know. Now it's still got some caked up stuff in there, so if you kind of get in there a little bit and you don't mind getting dirty with your fingers, I mean, if you want to use rubber gloves, you can, but this could eat like this stuff could eat like the plastic gloves. Maybe latex might be fine, but if you're not afraid to get dirty, you could kind of really. Yeah, you can see it really brought back that paintbrush. All right, we got a replacement, people. This is awesome. Yeah, so these fan brushes are always good even when they get bad, because when your fan brushes get really bad over time and then you kind of clean them, they get stiffer and they break and they have different, you know, little lengths of stuff. So, you know, like when your fan stuff gets really messed up there, you become even better for dry brushing. But when they're stiff and they're hard as a rock, of course it doesn't work. But doing this works pretty well. So, basically what I would probably have to do though is kind of like, you know, let this stuff sit in a little bit longer, kind of break it up. Like I said, the brush cleaner from Winsor Newton, that stuff would kind of like in an instant, but I think it had way more acetone in it, maybe, or a little more chemicals. But this stuff seems to be doing exactly what I needed to do. It may take a little bit longer, but it works out pretty well. And like I said, the smell is a little bit different than the Winsor Newton stuff, but it still kind of has that little bit of a acetone sort of softer smell. Let's see. Dissolves low density plastics, keep away from O-rings, and recommended stencils rubber. Okay, so rubber, O-rings, and stencils and stuff, this will probably eat away just like that stuff. So, you know, if you're putting this in your airbrush and it gets into your O-rings and stuff, it probably will melt them. But, like I said, if you're careful and you know what you're doing, you can do it. Let's see. So this has a little bit more stuff. Water-based, non-flammable, super cleaner, partially dissolves cured water-based paint, allowing easy cleanup. Used as a bath to soak metallic parts. As a solution to wipe parts clean, not for use as a rinse that is sprayed through your gun. Yeah, so you really don't want to spray this stuff through your airbrush. If you do, make sure you have like a mask on. You know, yeah, so basically like the Winsor Newton stuff. So if I ever used to spray through the Winsor Newton, I have one of those cups that you spray it in, and I would always do it with like the window and stuff. But it was more for cleaning my airbrush, not for like spraying it through. So I never really poured this stuff in there and cleaned it through. So you got to be very careful with that. But yeah, I mean, this stuff wasn't... I don't recommend you doing this stuff for your airbrush in a sense where you have your O-rings in there and your Teflon stuff, but if you know what you're doing and you could break apart your airbrush, you could bring stuff back to life. So I just needed something where, you know, if I get this caked up in these cups, or if I get it caked up around here, or if I, you know, like whenever I break my stuff down. Alright, but I am happy now that I have a good replacement. This is going to solve a lot of my problems. So actually now, what I can do, like I said, this brush is kind of like brought back to life. It's kind of a little bit more at the tip and stuff. Kind of needs to break it up a little bit more. But it brought it back to life. Now once this is dried, I probably wouldn't use this for anything like, you know, perfectly. This would be kind of become... Usually, way I work is, I use good brushes for when I'm painting something new and it's fresh and everything, but when the paint brushes get clogged up or they get worn, they become like my base dry brushing brushes. So like if I ever have a base and I need to kind of dab into areas and I know I'm going to destroy the paintbrush, that's what I use these brushes for. And when these get completely destroyed, I throw them in the trash and I keep my cycle going. New brushes for, like, you know, when I paint up client stuff, I want everything nice and clean. I want the brushes nice and perfectly brand new. And then once they sort of get destroyed, they go into the batch of, like, you know, for dry brushing, kind of jabbing into areas where I know the paint bristles will break and bend and all that, and I keep shifting stuff through. But as far as airbrushes go, when I break them down and then you really need to get all those clogs done, especially in, like, the needles and the nozzles, I could put like the nozzle in there, let it soak, pull it out, and kind of clean it up. That's kind of the whole point of this stuff. So yeah. So as I'm saying, this Createx Colors Airbrush Spray Gun Cleaner Restorer, it's 4008. They do have another airbrush. Well, they have a paintbrush cleaner, but it's kind of like soapy water. I would stay away from that. But if you're looking for something to really clean your airbrushes, bring your paintbrushes back to life, this is the solution. So I am ecstatic. So I'll be picking up a couple more bottles when I can. I got 2 bottles now. I'm going to clean up my airbrushes and I'm going to start painting in the month of December, January. And I'm good to go now. I'm happy that I have something to clean these airbrushes and I get my workflow going. So with that being said, thanks for watching and we'll be back with some more videos.